From the newsrooms of the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, this is Please Explain. I'm Nathaniel Cooper. It's Tuesday, April 27. Two men from the New South Wales Mid-North Coast have been charged after allegedly sending NRL star Latrell Mitchell abusive and racist messages on social media earlier this month. After receiving the messages, the 23-year-old Rabbitohs star alerted his management and asked them to involve authorities. Detectives from the Fixated Persons Unit charged a 22-year-old from Mitchell's hometown of Taree and a 25-year-old Lake Munmora man with using a carriage service to menace, harass or cause offence, and both will face court in May. Yesterday, Mitchell held a press conference to call out the racist abuse and encourage others to come forward against internet trolls. To tell us more, I'm joined by rugby league reporter Christian Nicolucci. Welcome to Please Explain. Christian, it's your first time on the show. I'm really excited to have you here. Now, Latrell Mitchell, as far as we're aware, this is the first time an NRL player has involved police over the abuse they've received online.
Yes, Nathaniel. It's actually the second time, believe it or not.
Really?
We had a Sydney Roosters player a few weeks ago, Josh Morris, received a message after a game from a punter threatening to kill him because he'd ruined his multi-bet of all things. So, of course, Josh Morris took it up with the police and the police sort of acted on this culprit. But Latrell, big news yesterday, he's had enough. He's sick and tired of calling out these people online. He's thought, I'll take it one step further. It's time to get the police involved and put an end to it once and for all.
He sent the messages to his management, who then raised it with the NRL Integrity Unit, is that right?
That's correct, last Sunday morning. So the chain of events, Latrell was playing against the West Tigers a couple of weeks ago, woke up Sunday morning to a whole heap of abusive messages, forwarded two in particular, the South Sydney boss, Blake Solly, who was, of all places, on lifeguard duty at Clovelly Beach, but checked his phone, saw the messages from Latrell, knew how serious they were. Of course, Blake Solly then contacted the NRL and their Integrity Unit. Monday morning, phoned the NRL, said, what course of action should we take? They suggested the police. Detectives came out Tuesday to South Juniors, interviewed Latrell. 3 days later, the arrests were made. Two men, one from Taree, Latrell's hometown.
It's disappointing whenever this happens, but someone from where Latrell grew up is particularly unsettling. Do we know how widespread the issue of abuse towards NRL players is online?
Yeah, I'm sure it's very widespread. Depending on which players, there is a lot of racist remarks that do get sent to a lot of these players. I guess it's hard for me. I'm a middle-aged, or I like to refer to myself as a young white man. I'm not really exposed to a lot of the abuse that these young players go through. So it's very hard to get my head around it, but it is out there. You hear the players talk about it. You heard Latrell talk about it yesterday. It's just whether or not, do they turn a blind eye to it? Some blokes can. Others that are less capable of handling the criticism, as Latrell pointed out yesterday, you just don't know what's going to happen.
That's right. We do have a bit of audio from the press conference, actually. Let's take a listen to that.
Online bullying and cyberbullying and all this stuff, it only takes that one message for someone, not as strong as me, that can't take the criticism and, for them to go and do some self-harm. And that's all it takes is one word. And today I'm taking a stand on it, and I just want everyone out there to know that, you can stand up for it too. I just don't want to be known as just a rugby league player.
There's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with his main point about the impact of these racist trolls online. It is an issue that extends further than rugby league, isn't it? And not all of them have the NRL behind them.
That was a very sort of powerful moment when he did say that. And it hit home when he said players doing self-harm. I mean, I'm not sure if players are doing that, but there is the potential to do that. I used to subscribe to the theory, if you don't like the trolls, simply turn off social media. I remember speaking with Brad Fittler. He came in as the New South Wales Blues coach a few years ago and really tried to get the players off social media, not for the trolls, but just thought, okay, put the phones down, let's have some good old-fashioned conversation. And he always believed that if you are going to get criticism or you're going to get trolled, simply turn your phone off. But I don't think it's as simple as that. In a sense, you're almost running away from the issues. And Latrell, he's had a gutful. Like I said, he can take it. He's taken it all his life. I think he even said in that same interview yesterday, he's copped abuse since he was 8 years of age. Again, which is so hard to get your head around and just appreciate what this bloke's had to deal with off the field. But he is a strong man. And as he pointed out, there are so many players that aren't used to the limelight and wouldn't know how to cope with similar criticism. They're the ones that you need to be careful of. And by him taking these actions now, you'd like to think he's going to make it easier for these players in the long run.
Latrell said he doesn't just want to be known as a rugby league player. He's only 23. Like, when I was watching that press conference yesterday and thinking, wow, I could not have spoken that eloquently. I certainly wouldn't have been able to stand up to people like this when I was 23. You've been covering his whole career. Do you think he can be the voice of change in the NRL?
The whole time I was sitting there yesterday, looking at him, looking down the barrel at the camera, talking so concisely and getting his message across so clearly, the whole time I was thinking, post-football, this guy is a ready-made politician. He is adored by children. He is respected by rugby league players. You only had to see yesterday when he was talking, there was a punter there at Redfern Oval yelling out, "We love you, Latrell." He's worshipped. He's the king of Redfern. You just think the whole time, such a powerful message. He believes so much in Indigenous issues. I just keep thinking of Mal Meninga. Mal Meninga tried his hand at politics post-football, but I can just see the similarities. It would be a real shame if Latrell didn't find himself in Canberra in 10, 15 years' time.
It'd be great to have someone who has that experience on the footy field, has that experience as an Indigenous person, to be able to speak to people, speak to his fans, speak to fans of footy about the experience they're having and hopefully make some change in that. How has the NRL reacted to this issue?
The NRL have always been very proactive when it comes to players and not accepting racism. We had an incident last year at Central Coast Stadium involving a Penrith player, Brent Naden, who is an Indigenous player, and he was being heckled by a group of fans to the point he actually tried to get play to stop. He had to keep signalling to the touch judges to get rid of these people from the stadium. He was that impacted that he just could not cope during the game. The NRL ended up tracking down these men, and what they could do from their end was strip them of their membership and ban them from attending any future games. It's not in the same ballpark as the police and enforcing punishments criminally, but from the NRL, that's the best they can do. Similar incident 2 or 3 years ago involving Greg Inglis at Penrith as well, again, copping racial abuse from the crowd. Penrith got involved, the NRL got involved, managed to track down the culprits and again ejected them. But they're fully behind Latrell in this situation. I did some digging yesterday just to find out how it goes about. So Latrell, he took the issue with South. He wanted to formally push ahead with these charges. It's completely up to the players. The players at the end of the day, if they feel they've been racially vilified or abused, where it does cross the line online, it's up to them at the end of the day. The NRL can't pursue any matters without their blessing. And I can understand that. It makes it hard for players. They might feel uncomfortable coming forward, but this is at the heart of what Latrell was trying to get at yesterday. Listen, it's time. Don't be afraid. Feel comfortable.
It's only been a few months since the AFL kind of addressed their racism issues at Collingwood, and then we think back to when Adam Goodes experienced his extremely negative racist experience with the AFL. It's kind of shocking that now in the year 2021, we're still having this discussion. Do you think it's ever going to go away?
I don't think it ever will. We've been having this same debate for years around the world. Again, it's such a shame, and no matter how much you preach the message, it's still unfolding. And even on Friday, after a game, I've seen some messages that have popped up on the NRL's own social media account of fans just giving it, well and truly crossing the line, giving it to some players that are appearing in photos. It's just, sometimes you wonder if it's ever going to hit home. The good thing is, you'd like to think it's 99.9% of people do the right thing. And that's as a general rule of thumb in society. Most of us do the right thing. It's the small minority that ruin it for everyone, but it's the small minority that we, as newshounds, we find ourselves writing about.
Yeah. It's fantastic that Latrell has stood up and said this isn't okay, that he is taking this action. But what I hope is it doesn't detract from people recognising his ability as a player, because he is a magnificent footy player, isn't he?
And he was asked that question yesterday. You got to wonder how much of a mental toll this takes in him and whether it takes away from his ability to perform on the field. And I think his answer was something along the lines of, it hasn't impacted me the past 12 months, it won't impact me the next 12 months. You got to remember, it's not just this racism issue and the trolls that Latrell's called out. He's also been very passionate about the anthem. He's been passionate about Indigenous issues. He's happy to sort of take these hit-ups, for use of a better word, about issues off the field, but not once has it taken away from his ability. He's still one of the greatest players to watch. He's got 4 weeks on the sidelines at the moment through a suspension, but when he comes back, he is one of the true draw cards in rugby league.
Well, hopefully next time I have you on the show, Christian, we'll be talking more about Latrell's ability as a player. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
If you found any of the content of today's episode troubling, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Today's episode of Please Explain was produced by Chi Wong. The journalists, editors, photographers, producers and tech team at The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald work tirelessly to cover the news that matters. For coverage you can trust, visit our websites or buy our papers. To support our journalism, you can subscribe via our homepages or just search subscribe, The Sydney Morning Herald or The Age. I'm Nathaniel Cooper. Thanks for listening.